Today, we're going to talk about something incredibly important. It's the world's largest humanitarian crisis, but it's also one that risks being totally forgotten. We're diving into Sudan's food crisis, but not just as some distant tragedy. We're looking at it as a critical case study, one with urgent lessons for literally every country, including our own. Let's get into it.
Seriously, just stop and think about that for a second. Imagine almost half the people you know, your family, your friends, the people in your city, living with that constant, crushing uncertainty. Well, this isn't some dystopian thought experiment. It's the daily reality for millions of people in Sudan right now.
The numbers here are just jaw-dropping. According to the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, the FAO, a massive 41% of Sudan's population is facing what's called acute food insecurity. And let's be clear, that's not just about skipping a meal. It's a technical term for a crisis where people's lives are in immediate danger because they just don't have enough food.
So you have to ask, how did it get this bad? Well, for the last 3 years, a devastating conflict has been raging, and it's pushed the entire nation's food system to the absolute breaking point. To really wrap our heads around the scale of this, we're going to break it down into 5 key facts. These come straight from the FAO's teams on the ground, and believe me, they paint a really clear and, frankly, devastating picture of what's happening.
Okay, first up, this isn't just some temporary shortage. Millions of people are caught in this relentless, vicious cycle of hunger. The conflict has made it impossible to plant or harvest crops. The FAO is even confirming that in some areas, the situation is so bad it's already reached the level of famine. And with the main planting season at risk, this terrible cycle is just set to continue.
And this is where the human cost becomes just heartbreakingly clear. It's always the most vulnerable who suffer the most. The FAO reports that over 4.2 million children under the age of 5 are acutely malnourished. And of that number, a horrifying 800,000 are facing severe malnutrition, which is an immediate life-threatening condition.
Now, this next point reveals a really tragic disconnect. Just as the needs on the ground are skyrocketing, the international funding to help is actually drying up. This forces aid organizations to make these impossible choices, like who do we help? They have to prioritize only the absolute most desperate cases, which means millions of others are left to suffer.
Just look at this gap. It says it all. The humanitarian plan for 2026 needs almost $3 billion. But as of April 2026, it was only 16.2% funded. Do you know the FAO itself needs $99 million for its own agricultural support programs? But so far, it's only received $5 million. The space between what's needed and what's been given, it's a chasm. So it's no surprise that Sudan's ability to feed its own people has been absolutely shattered. You've got this perfect storm of conflict, farmers being forced to flee their homes, and massive economic shocks. It means fields are empty, supplies get looted, and the entire agricultural infrastructure is just falling apart.
This one number really tells the story. According to the FAO, cereal production dropped by 22% compared to the year before, and it's also 19% below the 5-year average. So this isn't just a small dip. We're talking about a catastrophic failure in production that leaves a giant food gap for the whole country.
All right, let's talk about another pillar of survival in Sudan: livestock. For millions of rural families, animals like cattle, sheep, and goats are, well, they're everything. They're not just food and income. They are a family's life savings, their insurance policy, they're key to bouncing back from hard times.
Now, the FAO has been doing some incredible work here. They've vaccinated over 7 million animals to stop disease outbreaks from making things even worse. But to put that huge number in perspective, that massive effort has only reached about 6% of the country's entire herd. It just shows you the mind-boggling scale of the need.
And finally, we come to what might be the most dangerous fact of all. As new conflicts pop up around the world and the headlines change, there's a very real danger that the incredible suffering of the Sudanese people will just fade from view. In fact, that massive funding gap we just looked at, that's a direct result of the world's attention moving elsewhere.
So we've seen the facts, but how does an entire country's food system just fall apart so completely? Well, it's not one thing. It's a catastrophic chain reaction. Let's look at the anatomy of this collapse.
It really is like a set of dominoes. First, the conflict starts, and it forces farmers to run for their lives. Right away, food production just stops. Then, the second domino falls. Supply chains break. The roads that move food from farms to cities are blocked, and markets get destroyed. And finally, the last domino. Even if there is some food left, hyperinflation makes it so expensive that nobody can afford it. It's a total system failure, from top to bottom.
And this is the part of the story that's not just about Sudan, it's about all of us. What's happening there is more than just a tragedy. It is a massive warning sign. It holds these crucial lessons for every single government and every citizen about just how fragile these systems we all rely on really are.
This is probably the most important question we can ask, right? Looking at this collapse, what can we learn? What are the keys to building a food system that can actually handle these kinds of massive shocks? Well, the FAO's work points to 4 really important pillars of resilience.
First, countries have to treat their food systems, everything from farms to markets, as critical national infrastructure. You protect it like you would a power grid. Second, you can't wait for a crisis to invest in agriculture. That investment has to be constant and proactive, especially in good times. Third, true resilience comes from the ground up. It means supporting local farmers because they are the real backbone of any nation's food supply. And finally, none of that matters if the markets fail. You have to keep them stable so that food is always accessible and, crucially, affordable for everyone.
Okay, so as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with one final thought that really ties all of this together. It really all comes down to this simple truth. A nation that cannot feed its people cannot be stable. Food security is the bedrock of everything else: economic stability, social peace, national survival. The crisis in Sudan is a powerful, tragic reminder that the foundation of any healthy society is its ability to put food on the table for its people. All of the information we've gone over today comes directly from that report from the Food and Agriculture Organization, published in April 2026. I really encourage you to read it yourself to get an even deeper understanding of what's happening on the ground. Thank you so much for watching.